Welcome to the AMT Tech Trends Podcast. I'm Stephen Lamarca, your host. In today's episode, we are excited to feature AMT's Chief Revenue Officer, Travis Egan, and Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence's Vice President of Operations, Steve Ilmrud. Travis and Steve will dive into some of the most important trends shaping the future of manufacturing, including insights from Hexagon's 2025 State of Manufacturing Survey, technology adoption, automation and AI, and workforce development. They'll also explore real-world examples of how manufacturers are modernizing operations, attracting skilled talent, and leveraging technology to stay competitive. Whether you're a manufacturer, a tech enthusiast, or simply curious about the future of manufacturing, this conversation is packed with insights you won't want to miss. Let's get started. This episode is sponsored by Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence, leading the charge in manufacturing innovation. You can find Hexagon Radio Podcast wherever you listen to, and follow Hexagon on LinkedIn to learn more. Enjoy.
So Steve, welcome.
Travis, thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
We appreciate having you here on the podcast today. Just to give a little background, and you and I have met, and I had the opportunity to do a lot of work with Hexagon really over the last several months more than anything, but for many years now. Great company. You guys are doing some pretty interesting things in developing manufacturing opportunities. So today I had the opportunity to go to the Hexagon Live event in Las Vegas a few months ago and really learn take a much deeper dive into your company and the products and services that you provide. And I have been blessed to have gotten a chance to go to several of your key customers and learn how they're using your technologies. So today I wanted to just talk about a little bit about something that I learned about really at Hexagon Live, and that is this Hexagon 2025 State of Manufacturing Survey that you guys developed, or I guess it's a report, State of Manufacturing in America. And I got a chance to sit in on a couple of sessions during Hexagon Live, and there's some really valuable information there about the adoption and awareness of manufacturing, but really in particular manufacturing technology and what impact that's having on our economy and on our country. So today I would really love to sort of dive into that, and if you could just give us a start and talk a little bit about how did this report originate? How did this come about?
We actually went out and we kind of sponsored it and worked with an organization, take a lot of questions in the market. I believe there are about 500 companies involved. It's really quite an extensive report as well. I mean, there's enough statistics in there to make almost anybody dizzy, right? But some of the takeaways are things that, frankly, I'm involved with personally with our own company. We are a manufacturer at Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence. Responsible for all the manufacturing operations in the Americas. So I'm personally dealing, at Hexagon with a lot of the challenges that a lot of our listeners will probably be facing. We can dig into those as much as you'd like. I could talk for 30 minutes or about 3 hours or whatever you want to do,
Well, talk a little bit about your role. So you're the VP of Operations at Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence. Talk about a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your day-to-day.
Well, yeah. So I've come through the aerospace. My job prior to working at Hexagon was in aerospace, aircraft engines, and then that technology, that industry brought me into metrology. We were mapping the aerosmoothness, which is essentially the step and gap of all the aircraft engines, which back in the early 90s was done with balls of clay and calipers. And it was really the portable arm technology that we started to use to digitize the outside of the aircraft engines. This was a major game changer, cutting edge technology back in the early 90s. And today, it's kind of commonplace. Portable arms are kind of everywhere, and they're used for many types of manufacturing. Um, so I moved, then left the company I was working for to work for the portable arm company, which was acquired by Hexagon back in 2004. So again, it's been in manufacturing for nearly 40 years, and with Hexagon, almost 30 years. And I'm now responsible for the factories that produce the stationary CMMs as well as the portable CMMs. Again, we're a large company. Our supply chain is quite diverse. We have a very strong domestic supply chain, but also very strong international global supply chain. And as you can imagine, that is a very difficult challenge these days with all of the changes in our economies and relationships around the world. So we're constantly trying to manage that supply chain, those challenges in the supply chain, but also trying to bring talent and skills into the organization. And that's a whole other area we can get into as well, trying to attract the best talent out there so we can utilize our technology that we use in our factories. I'm very lucky because as a factory manager or a manufacturing manager for Hexagon, as we acquire companies, and we've acquired quite a bit of technology over the many past 20 years, I am able to leverage the technology that we acquire or develop for my own operation, my own factories. So that's really an advantage kind of I have, but allows me to, talk about not only what we offer, but how it's used to actually help my operation itself.
So one of the things that I have sort of observed over the years is that, we do have our challenges in manufacturing here in the United States. And there's a lot of talk about awareness of manufacturing. And there is an issue with awareness. There's no doubt about it. Not everybody really understands or thinks about how the things around them are produced and provided to them. But when it comes to manufacturers being able to evolve and be more competitive, the actual manufacturers themselves, my observation is it's more of an adoption issue. We know that what technologies are out there. We know that there are a lot of advanced technologies that we could potentially be investing in. But there's a slow adoption curve, if you will, in technology. And I think this is one of the things that I observed from your report is that there seems to be slow adoption of technology. Can you talk to me a little bit about, from your perspective, why do you think that is, and how can we overcome that type of challenge?
Well, I think that in terms of technology, there's a perception that it's too expensive, too difficult, not accessible. And certainly there's a wide range of technology that's out there, right? Talk about AI is a hot topic these days, and what exactly is AI? And I think, manufacturers are still debating what AI really is, right?
Sure.
I then I've had several conversations about what AI is, and from my point of view, there's a lot of technologies that access data that's out there, and then access it and bring it to you for evaluation, for analysis, and that's very, very helpful. And it's sort of, again, maybe it's the AI, maybe it's not. What I think AI really is, and it's going to be more so in the future, is when you're able to ask a question or provide a challenge, and the technology will create something that maybe doesn't exist today. It's not out there. You found it, you brought it to the table. It's actually creating new value, right? And that's really where this is going. And we've got some technologies. I look at, for example, our software metrology mentor. I think we showed it at IMTS and certainly talked about it at Hex Live. This has the ability to provide a drawing or a mechanical specification. The software will look at that and then basically will create an optimized inspection routine for you. So you're getting a routine that didn't exist before from a bunch of requirements. And it typically does it a lot faster and a lot better than humans do. So that's kind of a cool example, I think, of what true AI is. But it is such a rapidly advancing field that I expect really a lot more exciting things in the future.
Yeah, I mean AI is certainly the hot topic, and there's there's sort of the front end business applications of AI for sales, for marketing, for running your business, and then there's using AI sort of in the factory, if you will. Um, and I think this technology adoption challenge also enunciates the fact that you need good data to utilize and leverage AI. And so you got to be able to pull that data from your equipment. You have to digitize your business. And so you guys in particular are bringing a lot of solutions to the table to help sort of digitize the factory or the manufacturing environment in general.
I would agree. The other thing to think about though is that in a lot of cases, companies have infrastructure that provide data already, whether they realize it or not, right? Certainly, a lot of it's very in your face, it's obvious, but even in those less obvious environments, there's a lot of data out there. You're right. I think the key is first of all understanding what data is out there, what data is most important to you. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to actually get done? And which data is most important to help you get that done. All right. So if you're familiar with DMAIC, the first the D is define what data is actually important. That's kind of one of the keys. Most of the AI discussions and seminars I've been on are all about again asking the right questions and trying to get the right data. Otherwise, you get you drown in data that doesn't help you. So I think that's one of a very important key.
So let's kick back to the workforce discussion for a minute. I had an opportunity to go to another one of your customers recently, Coline Manufacturing, in just outside Pella, Iowa. And one of the things I observed in my visit there was they had this young gentleman who had just started running a 5-axis tube laser machine, very complicated piece of machinery, perhaps the most complicated or expensive piece of machinery on their factory floor. It was a Mazak machine, and it was interesting to me because one of the stories that they told me is that this young guy had gone from their assembly area 3 weeks before he was in assembly. Now he's running perhaps their most expensive piece of equipment, and a very sophisticated piece of equipment for their factory floor. And I think of that workforce challenge that you guys have identified in this report. Technology is making it easier and making it more, making all applications more accessible to the workforce. You talk a little bit about that and what Hexagon's role is in that.
Yeah, I mean, to boil it down, right, technology is attractive, right, and that's attracting the talent we need, the next generation of manufacturers. And I've had a lot of folks come in for tours of our factories, and I mean, I work in these factories every day, so to me, they're the same old thing. But they kind of come in and you see their eyes light up and go, "Wow, I had no idea that this is what the factories could look like and what's going on." And it does make you kind of feel good, but it's even I am a bit surprised by the reaction, and I think it supports the fact that the mentality out there is that manufacturing is still a dirty, unattractive place to have a career, right? Um, One of the things to think about is I think as we educate the workforce about what manufacturing is, we think about the advances in aerospace and automotive and medical, and the incredible technology that we are developing today that make the world a better place that we all interact with from the minute we wake up. The alarm clock to the getting dressed in the morning to getting in a car, everything that we
Own,
everything we
yeah,
touch is
yeah.
influenced by manufacturers. And you think about things in aerospace with rockets taking off and then landing and being reused, and these are things that are unheard of in the past that incredible that they've been developed, but the manufacturing of this is really mind blowing. And so I think part of the draw is educating the next generation for what manufacturing can bring to the table, and how it's going to make the world a better place, more efficient, saving our natural resources, in a way, saving the world, from that kind of approach. It's a little bit deep, but I think that generation is really kind of connecting with that concept. So that helps. But the key that might get them in the door. That might get them in the door to say, okay, let me take a look at this thing called manufacturing. But I really think the key is investing. You've got to invest in those folks when you do get them on board. And it's you bring someone in, you hire them, and you want to put them to work right away because you want them to make value, but you've got to restrain yourself from that, and you've got to invest in their onboarding, right? Giving the education they need. And what's happening now is onboarding is now transitioning to what's being called everboarding, and it's something we're
Okay.
doing it well. And when I first heard the term, I thought, okay, I think I know what this means, but it makes a lot of sense. Onboarding is that a new employee comes in the door, you get 2 or 3 weeks of maybe training, and then it's go to work and we'll see you in a couple of years, and
Good
you know,
luck.
good luck, right? But everboarding is more of a get them in the organization. Surely there's an onboarding period, but working with them to consistently continue to educate, continue to give them more flexibility. One, it will help you uh, build a better employee, because I think that activity is very much appreciated by the employee. It gives you much more flexibility, because then that person can be deployed in different places. And we do this quite a bit. We may hire someone to be an assembler today, to assemble our products, but then we try to transition them to learn how to calibrate or map the machine, and then learn how to prepare the machine for shipment. And so they will eventually learn the whole process, and then we continue. That person could then be a candidate for a manufacturing engineer, a production supervisor. So, the idea is to build them a career path, not just a job, right? And what's interesting, the jobs report just came out, and people went a bit bonkers with the way, the numbers, and manufacturing jobs are down. But skilled jobs are still something we need to fill. There's still 500,000 skilled jobs rolls out there. We anticipate that through 2023, we will be almost a $2 million gap, 2 million seat gap in employment jobs. So we've got to start now and make those investments in skilled labor so we have the workforce for the future.
Yeah, and part of that investment in skilled labor is going to come through automation. Um, you know, but automation's not necessarily, and certainly, uh, you could really take a look at it from the standpoint that automation creates more job and certainly more skilled opportunities within a manufacturing facility. Um, we talked about investment in new technology, and at IMTS 2024, it was the first show in the history of IMTS where there were more robots on the show floor than there were machine tools. And that's an interesting evolution of technology there. Now, many of those robots were on machines or in machines, but there is this huge acceleration of automation in manufacturing. And it's everything from a bar feeder to a machine to collaborative robotics to, just every type of automation that you could think of. And when I was at this coal line manufacturing facility, I thought it was extremely interesting. So now you have sort of in the heartland of manufacturing, a very successful manufacturer, 200 plus employees, that's really in the fabricating and welding part of the business. And they have relied heavily on the partnership with Hexagon to drive their direction for manufacturing investment. And I was talking to the president, Eric Brand, and Eric said, you know what we're considering for our next investment, or at least our discovery phase of educating ourselves on where we might take investment in the future at IMTS, is humanoid robotics. And I was sort of taken aback. Now, we had a humanoid robot at IMTS 2024. It was in the Emerging Technology Center as an example of the future. But then when I went to Hexagon Live, I see that you have your own humanoid robot on there. And Eric Brand at Coline said, we're very seriously considering an investment in this Hexagon Aeon robot. And I was actually blown away by that, because I wouldn't think that that's one of the applications just generally for that robot. I would think a large aerospace or automotive manufacturing plant might be the first to adopt that. So just telling that story, talk to me about what comes to mind and what you see as the opportunity for such a thing.
So again, I think Coline's done a really great job, of taking their operation and bringing technology, and a lot of it from Hexagon. They're using a Radian software for all of the laying out of the patterns of their sheet metal. They've adopted laser scanning with their portable arm and scanner. So they've definitely done a great job of implementing technology, investing in technology. They're attracting great talent and retaining that talent because of technology. And I think, again, the first thing that a portion of the population thinks is automation and robotics technology will take jobs away. And in reality, it will optimize our operations and create higher level, better paying jobs, frankly. I actually, as you were talking about this, I went back to a 60 Minutes piece that was probably 20 years ago. I talked about robots taking over the world and taking over manufacturing. And it was, they had said back then, and I think it's very, very true. You take a welder, for example,
Sure.
okay? You have someone who welds, and the robot comes along and it can help weld components for us. So is that job gone, or can we now take that welder and teach them how to program the robot, right? It teaches them how to optimize, knowing what they know, help the robot optimize how to weld, right? And it does the heavy lifting for us. But again, I think that especially in terms of robotics, it will create more opportunities for higher level, higher paying jobs. So we've seen that as well. We've implemented some technology at our own factories where robots have come in, or cobots, and we kind of work side by side with the cobots or robots. And they've, in some cases, they've improved our efficiency 80, 90% in those operations. And those people are now working on, again, more complex, better, high-paying jobs. So I think it's good for the businesses and good for the skilled labor as well.
All right, so let's go back to the State of Manufacturing in America report. There was something that I read in there that I'm going to quote it from the actual report itself. As it closed out the report, it says, there's a bold statement in there. It says that factories of the future won't be built on tools alone. So I'm wondering, what does that mean to how leaders need to think about innovation in the future?
If you've ever heard me talk in the past, I talk about the 3 Ps. It kind of keeps me leveled and grounded on how I do my job every day. And this was a result of a manufacturing challenge I had about 20 years ago. The 3 Ps are people, and people are first. It's the first most important P. The parts, which is, again, supply chain challenges and inventory control and all that, and then the process. All right. So you talk about the technology. The technology is in the process. That's going to be the software and hardware tools that are out there that are constantly being developed and advanced. They will help you improve your operations, become more efficient, but they themselves alone will not support this three-legged stool that we have to manage, right? If you take away one of the legs, the stool falls down. You have to have the people and the parts in a process. So we've got, again, go back to the workers and try to solve the problem of the skills gap, so that we have personnel available to utilize and leverage this technology. Okay. Um, and there's no time more important than right now. And this touches on sort of the parts aspect of this, with all the things happening in global economy, where there's a lot of reshoring activities in the U.S., the Americas, and we are, trying to do that as well. And we've found that in a lot of cases we've taken a bit of a nap, in the U.S. in terms of manufacturing. And I think that we are starting to wake up and realize we've got some work to do. Um, and that's creating challenges, finding companies in the US that can actually compete with some of our foreign rivals. And it's a great time. It's a great challenge, right? So, we've got the technology here. We've got to convince the workforce of today that this is a good place to be working and spending your careers. We need to put them in front of the best technology that we have, um, and then leverage that technology along with the labor to become competitive again globally. So yeah, it's a people and a parts and a process challenge.
So when you talk about those three Ps, and there is admittedly a gap in the perception of manufacturing and where we truly are. Not to say we can't get much better by investing in more and more technology and don't have, an opportunity, a huge opportunity there, but we are further along than most people perceive in terms of our investment in technology and what a factory or a manufacturing facility is really like. What do you think it's going to take to bridge that gap? Like, what can we do to bridge that gap?
From my point of view, it's got to start grassroots. Okay, so we've done a lot of work with local universities and tech schools. We have equipment we have over 800 pieces of equipment in universities and tech schools, and exposing the technology as well as what manufacturing is to people early on in their educational cycle, right? So we work with high schools to explain what manufacturing is and to try to get them to get excited about it early on. We reinforce that with lots of work with the universities. We have a lot of interns, um, uh, and other research projects we work with. So I think it's a whole level of grassroots approach with the children, young adults, uh, and just all the way through to middle-aged folks as well, who are looking to maybe change careers after a start in a different area. So it's education. I think even things like this, right? So I mean, I'm a late baby boomer, early Gen X guy, and social media has never been something I've been super comfortable with or so involved in. But it's clearly the way that the next generation is communicating, learning about things. And so I think, podcasts like this and TikTok and LinkedIn, all the other types of social media is another vehicle or avenue to educate how exciting manufacturing can be and the exciting technology out there that they can interact with.
All right. So, closing thought, closing question. Both of our organizations are missions to really accelerate the adoption of manufacturing technology. Um, there are plenty. We talked about those facilities, those individuals that are very much bullish and brave and at the forefront of technology, like Coline, making their investments, like Hendrix Motorsports, they're not afraid to. In fact, they have to make those investments to be competitive in their individual worlds. Um, there are a lot of small to middle-sized manufacturers out there. Many of them were at Hexagon Live. We are a year from IMTS. Many of those companies come to the IMTS show. It's both of our mission. What do you think we can do to convince those individual companies, those individual people to sort of get off the fence and modernize and make that investment in technology? What's your advice?
Again, I think the perception is probably that this is something that's too expensive for me to handle. I think we can be certainly a consultant to support those companies. We can provide technology at a pretty reasonable rate price. And again, you don't need to bite this. You eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? So you just start doing something,
Yeah.
and from there you'll kind of grow. It's expensive. It may seem expensive, but it'll be even more expensive if you don't invest because you'll be that much further behind next year than you were this year if you don't invest. So You can train properly, um, but it's hard to quantify that return on investment. Right? So what's it going to cost? What's my investment? Um, there's value in training, but the return you get on that training and investment is invaluable, right? So you kind of have to. We as a manufacturing industry, as a country, have got to really start to reinvest in ourselves. And again, I don't think we have to be concerned that we can't afford it. There's always a way we can help. Even once every journey, that first step is important to take. We're here to help.
Well, I want to amplify your last comment to close here. You said we're here to help, and I definitely have seen firsthand, witnessed, observed, felt, quite frankly, what a company like Hexagon, and there's many others like Hexagon, but in particular, I've had the opportunity in my travels to see how you guys are truly a partner to these manufacturers. And that kind of speaks to that last question. You're not there to sell them a technology or a piece of equipment or, a piece of software. You're there to help them implement that to increase their productivity, be more competitive, grow their business essentially. And if you can do that, it's a win-win, and they truly feel a part of your company, you a part of theirs, and it solves all the issues that we're out here to make manufacturing more resilient, and grow the economy. So you guys are doing a great job. I've seen it firsthand. I've really enjoyed that. I've really enjoyed talking to you today. And thank you for your time, Steve.
Appreciate it, Travis. Thanks a lot. Take care now.
From one Steve to another, thank you again for joining us. And to all of our listeners, stay tuned for more episodes where we explore the trends shaping the future of manufacturing. Be sure to check out Hexagon's 2025 State of Manufacturing Survey for more insights, and stay connected with tech trends for future episodes. Bye, everybody, and bing bong.